Well, let me just quickly fall in this water for real nice and limp. Wait, why am I in the clouds now? I'm Araknie and it's time to talk about the Simpsons arcade game from 1991 and from Konami. It's not my fault they keep coming up. They kept making games I wanna play in the 90s. They couldn't chill at all, holy shit. And they even created an original story for this. After all, there was only one season out of the show, so it was useless to try and put some general plot linking those together. Like every good Simpson episode, the plot is thin but the satire is strong. The family is out for a shopping walk and they see Smithers robbing a jewelry store. Homer bumps into him and the stuff goes up in the air and into Smuggy's mouth, becoming her new pacifier. Why is this jewel important? Who knows, but Mr. Bum wants it, so Smithers obeys. And this plays wonderfully too. Controls are very easy and intuitive, but it's got some depth if you really want to spend the time to learn. Like I said, Konami had their best in the 90s, because there's only two buttons you'll need to use, one for attacking and another for jumping. It has some weirdness about the usage of the first switch where depending if you keep it press it once or tap, you might do a different move. So beware of what you do because you can actually learn this, and all four members of the family have some differences between them, fortunately, so it's more fun to play it multiple times. Marge gets a large vacuum cleaner. Oh, biting satire. I mean, this isn't enough for a video game from 1991. Thinking about it and looking at Stellar Blade, this is still ahead of our time in reality. But she has great range and some nice moves to help keep the distance between her and the various perfectly fine people that surely populate the normal town of Springfield. Homer is short range but very strong, but he just throws a bunch of punches, but really weird and close to his chest. I don't like him. Like anybody watching the series after season 9. Bart is the miniature version of Marge but stronger with some strange moves and hitboxes. I think programming the skateboard caused some issues. Didn't understand why sometimes he became a whirlwind, but that's fine by me. As long as you do an enormous amount of damage, you can keep going, Senor Barto. Lisa is really weak, but with a great range. She uses the jump rope because she used to hang out with the jump rope twins in the first few seasons. Oh, I realized I remember early Simpsons much more than what I thought. The level design is not much to write home about, but they're fun to look around. Lots of personality. You can jump up and go in another plane, but it has no reason to be. Almost never. The most use they make of it is when you go to the mountains. There's some reason there to have multiple layers, and I'm glad they didn't let these occasions slip by. Aside from that, you might also find other weapons to use. Some are better used by a specific member of the family, meaning that they make more effect with that character. I'll let you figure out which ones since it's very simple. Enemies are plenty and varied, but they don't become difficult as fuck. They all die between 1 to 3 hits from start to finish. They make it harder by giving them more difficult to dodge attacks. That's neat. I find the system very interesting. I wonder why more games don't use it. Maybe because most developers are time constrained by their terrifying deadlines and make it so they just have more health. Thankfully, it's a little bit more forgiving here and doesn't get to the point of boringly button mashing against the same guy. Graphically, this game is a pure gem. It's perfectly representing the first few seasons' art style and it invokes such warm feelings that I haven't felt in 20 years. Somebody in the dev team must have really pushed for this because it's fully realized in every little detail that could have been pulled from a passing still or an understated joke from the series. And they clearly work closely with Mark Groening or his team for him, because they've got the inside scoop to certain characters and elements that appear only after the release of this game. Might have been that this influenced the animators of the show because the timeline doesn't work otherwise. In any case, the coloring is marvelous and everything is animated on the same level. It's a rare case where the background and the moving elements run at the same frames. I don't know how they achieved it so early on, but I hear it's a technique they kept using for a lot of their games like Sunset Riders and Mystic Warriors, so it must have been something they discovered that allowed for iteration and improvements. This match of ping pong with the show is reflected also in the music. The first 5 to 6 seasons of The Simpsons had a real zany and super exaggerated cartoony soundtrack. It wasn't at all like the more mellow stuff that started when Homer became the protagonist. It used to be all full of instruments and uses of synths. This game perfectly represents that, making you feel like some tracks are directly lifted from the show even though they're completely original. I honestly love this stuff. It comes from a time when Springfield was the protagonist and the Simpsons were used to put you in the lens of a normal family, with their own problems. But it was characters you could relate yourself with and it exposed how it was to live in such a completely incomprehensible place. With satire about how the conventions about the American dream were holding people back from getting better. this music perfectly fits there. So in the end, this title is really something worth your attention. Don't discard it just because it's a licensed game. You've been missing on The Simpsons, an 8 out of 10 arcade experience. Oh, something important that might help that I almost forgot. Be sure to play the 2-player version instead of the 4 players one if you wanna be able to change characters. I don't know the reason for this design choice, but it works like this. If you wanna see me play the games that I will review, plus some extra stuff, catch me on Twitch at Araknie Retro. It's my natural habitat, you see. Until next time, ciao ciao!